Hi, this is Sanjana from Tuteways, and in this video, we're going to talk about equivalent fraction and lowest term. To understand these two concepts, let us take the example of a chocolate bar. Now, I don't really like sharing my chocolate, but again, to help us understand these two concepts, I take my chocolate bar and I divide it into two equal portions. I give one portion away to my brother. That means he will get this entire colored portion, the chocolate. As a fraction, I can write it as 1/2. Then I decide that instead of breaking it down into two pieces, I will break the chocolate down into 4 pieces and give 2 of those pieces away to my brother. As a fraction, I will write it down as 2/4. I have given away 2/4 of the chocolate to my brother, but if I look at it, he is again getting the same colored portion. Again, I decide to change the number of parts that I'm dividing the chocolate in, and I decide that I will break the chocolate down into 8 pieces. Out of those 8 pieces, I will give 4 away to my brother. Now again, as a fraction, I can write it as 4/8, but if you look at it again, he gets the same colored portion of the chocolate. So even though my fractions are all different, they are all equal in value, because for each of these fractions, he's getting the same colored portion. These kinds of fractions are called equivalent fractions. Equal in value, equivalent fractions. Now, every time I can't think of an example, therefore it is really important that I know how to find out an equivalent fraction. So for any given fraction, let us say numerator upon denominator, the rule goes that I can only multiply or divide, and it has to be by the same number. So I can either multiply or divide. Whatever operation I use has to be the same for the numerator and same for the denominator. That means, let us say I have 1/2. I choose to multiply. And when I multiply, it has to be by the same number. So if I am multiplying my numerator by 2, I will also multiply my denominator by 2. I cannot multiply them with different numbers because it will not give me an equivalent fraction then. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, and 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. And because I have followed this rule, 1/2 and 2/4 are in fact equivalent fractions. So to figure out equivalent fractions, I simply multiply or divide my numerator and denominator by the same number. Let us take another example. Let us take 4/8. I decide to divide this time. I think of a number that can divide 4 and 8 both. I can divide them both by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. That means 4/8 and 2/4 are equivalent fraction as well. If I decide to divide 4/8 by 4, I'll get my answer as 1/2, and you can see again that these two are equivalent fractions as well. So to find out equivalent fractions, I repeat, I choose my operation, either multiplication or division. Those are the only two options. And then I divide or multiply by the same number. Yeah. Now, moving on to lowest term, it's actually really easy. Lowest term is also called the simplest term, or the simplest form of a fraction. Let us take the same example of 4/8. I divided by 2, and I got the answer as 2/4. If I look at this, I can further divide it by 2 again. 2 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2. I'll get the answer as 1/2. Can I divide it further by the same number? Except 1, but it doesn't really count because anything divided by 1 is the number itself. There is no number that divides 1 and 2 both. That means this becomes the lowest term or the simplest form of this given fraction. For any given fraction, if I keep on dividing it till the time I can't divide it anymore, it gives me my lowest term. Let us take the example of this fraction. I think of a number that can divide both of them. Let us say the easiest one that pops in my head is 2. So 18 divided by 2 and 24 divided by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9 and 24 divided by 2 is 12. A number that divides both 9 and 12, 3. So I pick up 3 and I use it. I divide 9 divided by 3 and 12 divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3 and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And now if I think about it, there is no number that divides 3 and 4 both. That means 3/4 is the simplest form or the lowest term for 18/24. I hope this helps. You get to apply equivalent fractions and lowest term.